rest of the week. AB was inactive for Sunday's game and left at halftime. Yesterday, Big Ben was asked about any friction with his star receiver. Let's hear it.
That's the kind of baffling thing to me is people are making a big deal about a walkthrough on Wednesday that there was a blow-up, a fight between he and I. I don't know anything about that. If there was a blow-up or something, I sure as heck didn't see it. You know, this big deal was made about that, and I'm not really sure where that comes from.
Ben, how is this going to play in the locker room? And I got to wonder, how does he come back into that locker room?
Yeah, you know, each guy's got to answer that question on their own. Like I said, I'm blessed to play with him, and I consider him one of my closer friends, obviously Pouncy and Ramon, but AB and I have been together for a long time. I owe so much of my success to him. Each guy has to, like I said, answer that question, and I know guys are frustrated. I think the biggest thing is I know some of the guys that I've talked to they're trying to reach out to him, they haven't heard back. So I think that's what's frustrating to a lot of guys.
All right, Shannon, who is most to blame for this drama in Pittsburgh?
Skip, I think there's enough blame to go around, but let's start with AB. Because AB needs to be professional. Skip, now you remember now, after the Kansas City game, they won. Mike Tomlin had given his speech, after-game speech. Antonio Brown is Facebook Live.
Yep.
I immediately came in the next day. I said they need to get rid of Antonio Brown. I said because he's going to be a problem. You see, the problem, the crux of what's going on in Pittsburgh, Skip, from what I can see, is that the two best players are the worst leaders. Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown. Therein lies the problem. This is a very divided, selfish, finger-pointing team. And that maybe in the history, now, you know, you got to go back, but I'm saying since I played and been covering the league, so 20-plus years, I've never seen anything like this. When Antonio Brown did what he did with the Facebook Live, Mike Tomlin wanted to win so bad that all he gave him was a slap on the wrist. So in other words, what he did is that he encouraged negative behavior. It also showed me that Antonio Brown had a lack of respect for Mike Tomlin. Because, Skip, when the coach after the game or pregame, those are sacred. What is said is never supposed to leave those walls. Not only did it leave the walls, Skip, it's live. Antonio Brown didn't care anything about what Mike Tomlin, it was about him. Told you he was selfish from the beginning with. Now, Ben says, you know, everybody's making a big deal out of walkthrough practice. Okay, if it's such a big deal, why do you want to repeat the play? Why did you keep repeating it if it's such a big deal?
If that's true that he did.
Exactly. Well, let Ben tell it nothing happened. Let everybody say, Mike Tomlin, Ben, AB said, oh, everybody's making a big deal. No, Skip Bayless. No. We saw this last year with the anthem. They said, now James Harrison, who was on the team at the time, saw it right here and said, what we had decided to do, we were going to stay in. Then all of a sudden, no, we're going to be in the tunnel. Then all of a sudden, one guy needed to stand so he could see the flag, while the coaches go stand on the sideline. Hold on, I thought we decided that we were going to stay in the locker room. Now all of a sudden, so see, we're not united as we previously thought. You see, Skip, the most important game of the Pittsburgh Steelers season didn't matter to Antonio Brown. What mattered to Antonio Brown was Antonio Brown. Selfish. See, Antonio said, I just want to win. You know, I just want to win. You know, he got that soft-spoken voice, I just want to win. No, you don't. You want to win, but you need 12 catches. You need $150 and 2 touchdowns. What bothered Antonio Brown the most, Skip Bayless? Let me put it to you in a nutshell. See, he experienced something that Julio Jones didn't experience. He experienced something that Mike Evans, true #1 receivers, with their robbing the second receiver, leading the team in catches and yardage. That's what bothered him. That's the problem that he got with it, Big Ben. Because Big Ben is showing somebody else some love. Hold on, wait a minute. If I'm the guy, you see, Skip, if Antonio, now this didn't just happen. You think Antonio Brown all of a sudden say, you know what? I'm just going to miss practice today. No. Skip, it's kind of like drugs. Very few people just start with the hard stuff. You start with the little stuff. Maybe a little alcohol here, maybe a little weed there, and then you trade, you know. It's a gateway to something more potential. Antonio Brown just didn't say all of a sudden, I'm not coming to practice one day. It was something may tick them off.
Didn't I say this was the third AWOL of this season?
No, but it goes back. He started walking out of practice. He started missing meetings way before. And then you gave him security with that long-term deal, Skip. Skip, remember I told you, Skip, money don't change who you are. It makes you more of what you already are. So if you a jerk and you ain't got no money, you become a gaping you-know-what if you get some money. So Antonio Brown, Skip, He's not going to get any better. If I'm the Steelers, I'm looking to move him. I got to. He ain't being cannot let me together.
That's going to cost you $21.1 million in dead money.
No, I'm not saying cut him. I'm saying move him.
No, I'm saying
Trade
you still have dead money.
I don't care.
Well, I mean, you had that guaranteed money that you gave him. You gave him $19 million guaranteed.
Skip, what good is that? I didn't make the playoffs with him. I'm not winning championships with him.
That's a fact.
So what good is he doing me?
Well,
He's causing a disturbance. My two best players are the worst leaders. Ben Roethlisberger might be an all-time worst leader at that position. Antonio Brown is a horrible leader because he's selfish. And everybody knows he's selfish. It's ridiculous. And Mike Tomlin bears some culpability because he didn't drop the hammer on Antonio Brown when he started getting out of line.
So, to your point, I was with you when you said you cannot pay this man after the 2016 season. In fact, we had Antonio on the show at the Super Bowl in Houston.
Oh, wow.
And to your credit, you faced up to him. And to his credit, he faced up to you and to us. And he gave his side of the story, and you stood by yours. I stood by mine. And we both agreed you cannot make your bed with him, because if you make your bed, as they say, you're going to have to lie in that bed.
Exactly.
And they went ahead and gave him $19 million guaranteed, and they gave him 4 years, $68 million. It's just too much money. And the same thing happened a year later with Odell. And I said, you cannot pay him that much money because he will turn out to be more trouble than he's worth at that position.
Absolutely.
If they're quarterbacks, you might want to try to live with it because it's harder to find that guy, and that's a more valuable
you're not getting
position,
off Big Ben.
Right. No, you're not. So you just have to live with all of his finger pointing and between the lines.
And retiring and unretiring.
You just have to put up with it because, once again, Ben put up really good numbers this year, and he's hard to find. He's hard to replace. Antonio's not easy to replace, but much easier to replace than the quarterback,
When was the last time one of those guys was on a Super Bowl winning team?
Which guys?
And Antonio Brown.
No, you just
number one, a true number one.
Odell, Antonio, they're the same to me. And they're both creations of this social media age we live in, because it made both of them, the social media feedback they get, makes both of them believe they're like NBA superstars.
Actually.
They're bigger than the team.
Absolutely.
And the problem is they act like basketball stars, but they play football. And they play a position in football that you played, in effect, a receiver position, where you cannot control your destiny at that position,
You play
right?
a dependent position.
Very dependent, because you're either going to get your targets or not. And it's going to depend on a whole lot of different variables that you cannot control.
Correct.
They can take you out of the game if the defense can. They can put 3 people on you. They can just say, Ben, you can't have him today, right?
Yep.
And then Antonio
Juju said, thank you.
Thank you, Juju. And Juju, as you pointed out, led the team in catches and receptions. Whoa, wait a second.
Catches and yards.
Yeah, and yards, yeah. So the point is that in basketball, it's different because you can't stop LeBron or Russell Westbrook.
Right.
They can bring the ball up the floor, right? So they're getting their touches. They're actually going touch. They're drilling it all the way up the floor. And then they can choose to attack the basket.
They can hold the ball for 24 seconds.
They can do whatever they want. They can pull up and shoot a 3 from 35 feet away.
Absolutely.
And it's hard to defend that because you can't stop their touches. So the point is, Antonio Brown has become more trouble than he's worth. So if we say, who do you blame? Well, I got to go to the top. Art Rooney. I mean, somebody had to, the buck had to stop on somebody's
he gave
desk.
it to him, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Art Rooney had said, not pay him. Okay? And Kevin Colbert, the GM, had to say, yep, we're going to pay him. And Mike Tomlin, he deserves some blame, especially if he voted yes on let's give him his money. And I'm assuming Mike would have input into that.
Well, I'm sure he does, Skip, but what I hold Mike Tomlin culpable for, because when he started missing these meetings, and he started skipping out on meetings and walking out of practice, no, you got to come down with harsh punishment, Skip. Set him down. Take some of his money.
And I've always applauded Mike for being the ultimate players coach, but that can go completely over the edge into the biggest negative in pro football, because the best players coach in pro football became the worst coach as far as controlling his locker room.
Skip, I'm trying to figure out, in all my years, Skip, you play pro football. How in the hell you don't show up for work? When nothing, even, Skip, I've been
just protesting.
Skip,
He wants out.
There have been times I was sick as a dog. I called Greek. I said, Greek, man, I don't feel good. Greek was the athletic trainer for the Broncos. He said, Shannon, come on in. We got medicine in these tables. So I would come in and lay on the table, Skip Bayless. How you don't show up the most important game, week 16. You need to win this game. And if Baltimore loses, Skip, you're in the playoffs. But if Baltimore loses in the final two, and you lose, and the two teams tied, Tennessee and Indy tied, you still get to the playoff.
And what happened in that game, by the way?
Almost.
Pittsburgh won
the game.
without
With Antonio Brown.
What does that tell you? Interesting.
Mike Tomlin. At some
Who do we see on the field like pleading for Baker Mayfield to pull it off? It was Juju, right?
Watching the game on the Jumbotron to see if they made the playoffs.
Yeah.
And where was Antonio Brown? Supposedly one of your best players. Supposedly one of your leaders.
Yep.
And where is he, Skip? Nowhere to be seen. So he told you, Mike Pouncey, Reuben Foster, Villanueva, all you got. He told you what he thought of you. It was never about you. Y'all thought y'all was in this together? This was never